All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode here. Doing something a little bit different. I know I've been quiet on the new music front over the past about a month and a half, and I like to have about weekly spotlights that I talk about new albums that I've been really enjoying and really digging. But honestly, there hasn't been a lot that I've been really loving yet that's come out this quarter. So the past month and a half, just I haven't felt compelled to talk in depth about any particular release, as well as the fact that I was really focused on my top 25 best albums series, which I recommend if you haven't watched that yet. So I was listening a lot to those albums instead, doing that project. So I decided to put new music on the wayside. It seemed like the perfect timing because there weren't a lot of big releases that I was really excited about anyways. So what I decided to do was put together an episode today that kind of clears the slate of some of the albums that I have been listening to over the past month and a half that I think are worth recommending, that I think you guys will enjoy. Usually I wait till the end of the quarter to do this, but I thought it was a good way to kind of get back into talking about new music and recommending albums. And then from here forward, there's a lot of good new albums coming out where I can get back on my routine of regular album spotlights. So I've got 6 albums to talk about. Maybe you can consider these, in my opinion, the best albums to come out in July. One of these, I believe, came out August 1st, but beyond that, I think they all came out around July. Maybe I'll do this kind of on a monthly-ish basis. I don't know, but I thought this would be a cool way to kind of let you guys know what I've been listening to and recommend a few cool albums that may have missed your attention, or you may just be curious to know my thoughts. So I'll try to rifle through these pretty quickly. I'm not going to do lengthy reviews of these. That's the whole point. I'm going to try to just talk in general about what I like about these releases and recommend them. So I'm going to put the album covers over my head, and I'll put in the description the names of these albums so you can go check them out and listen to them on whatever platform you enjoy. So here we go. Let's get into it. All right, the first one I want to talk about is Skinner Project and their album To Earth With Love. This came out on July 4th. This is a project led by Brazilian musician Leo Skinner, blending modern progressive rock, metal, and electronic music. It was founded in 2017 and has evolved from like a solo endeavor into a more creative collective of musicians. And it's a really fun album that I've been enjoying quite a bit. I think there's a lot of Rush-inspired vibes here, and definitely can feel a bit of an 80s kind of synth influence as well. It honestly can be very poppy at times, very catchy, very fun, kind of almost an 80s arena rock feel, but great vocals, great melodies. I think it's really fun. There's a really cool instrumental called Report Number 28. That I think is worth checking out. I think it especially starts really strong. The first 4 tracks or so are just really engaging and captivating and really interesting. It has a cool aesthetic. I like this kind of sci-fi aesthetic that these tracks have. I will say that, maybe it drifts off a little through the second half. Maybe every track towards the end isn't as strong as how it started, but overall, it's just a fun record. Maybe not a ton of like supremely proggy stuff to dig your teeth into, but just really great melodic rock that I really love. And I think a lot of people who like similar music as me could find a lot to enjoy with this record. So I wanted to spotlight it and put some attention towards it if that's your kind of thing and you're interested in that. Next, released July 18th, this is Scardust and their album Souls. This is maybe my favorite album of the group. I mean, there's a lot of great albums here, but this one really surprised me. It's a band I was not very familiar with. I believe this is their 3rd album. More of a symphonic metal group, honestly, with a bit of prog metal tinges to them as well. But I was pretty surprised by how proggy it was. It has this kind of classical feel. The vocals have a bit of an operatic tinge to them. An incredible female vocalist on this record, Noah Grumman. That's the highlight of the record. If you're really into great, impressive vocal performances, then this should be a must listen because the vocals on this are fantastic. There's a lot of cool backing vocals, a lot of great operatic kind of touches, and just incredible virtuosic display of incredible vocal prowess on this record. And I just really enjoyed it. I think there's some fun, like I mentioned, kind of neoclassical inspired progressive metal underneath here. And some really catchy tracks. There's kind of a 3-part mini epic towards the end as well that features Ross Jennings on vocals. And I just smiled my whole way through the record. I just thought it was really promising, really fun. And I'm really excited to check out more from the band because this was kind of a sleeper hit that I didn't expect to be as good as it is. I'm not typically a huge fan of like the symphonic metal scene. I do like a bit of Nightwish here and there, but I haven't explored much further beyond that. But I think this has its own unique flair and delves enough into the progginess that it brings me in and captivates me on a really great listen. And those vocals are just next level. And I'm a huge fan of just really pleasing, great vocals. And I'm constantly amazed by this record and what Noah is able to pull off. So fantastic, a high recommendation for me. I almost considered pulling this out and doing its own separate review, but I'm trying to like catch myself up. So I thought I'd just put it in here as a very strong, solid recommendation that's rising up my ranks even to being one of my favorite records this year. So please check it out. Really enjoyable. Next, released also on July 18th, I found this band, Phantom Spell. This is the album Heather and Hearth. This is basically a one-man band type project from Seven Sisters singer and guitarist Kyle McNeil. So he's doing everything here as far as I know, all instrumentation, all vocals and such. And I believe he's done maybe one other record before this one. But what's really cool about this record is that it has a bit of kind of a classic, like 70s proto metal kind of feel, early like Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, that kind of stuff. But there's definitely some proggy feeling as well. You know, it's not very overtly heavy, honestly. It has a lot in common with maybe bands like Wishbone Ash and Uriah Heep, maybe a bit of like a Deep Purple. You can hear bits of like Styx and Kansas and all of these kind of great bands from the 70s, all influencing this really cool, compact, tight record that has some acoustic touches, has some extended pieces, is very steeped in like a fantasy type feel, has some driving rhythms and beats like you'd expect from like an early Iron Maiden track. And I just found a lot to enjoy here. I thought there was some really great catchy moments, some really great instrumentation, some really catchy tracks. It starts and ends with the longest tracks that are about 11 minutes in length, and then there's a bunch of shorter tracks in the middle. But everything is really fun to listen to, really great vocals, really fun instrumentation. So if you like those 70s bands I mentioned, I think you're going to find something to enjoy from this. So something to explore. I think it's really fun and definitely one worthy of mentioning on this list. Next, I have Ambient Den. This is the self-titled record from a new project. This was released on July 28th. This is from Australian musicians Ben Craven, Tim Bennett, and Dean Povey. And I know Ben Craven quite well. He did an incredible record a couple years ago, I believe, that was one of my favorites of that year. Just two big long tracks. I believe it's Monsters from the Id, right? Two big long tracks that were really fun and had a lot in them in the progressive rock vein. I've heard him described as kind of bringing together influences from Pink Floyd and from Yes to create his own progressive music stew. But this time he does things a little bit differently. He brings some other musicians on board to help him. And it has a very Pink Floyd sound. If you love classic, like 70s Pink Floyd, then this is definitely a must listen because there's so many great extended instrumental pieces, a lot of great guitar work that reminds you of David Gilmour, some space rock passages, and it has a really cool, like, spacey theme to it as well. Basically chronicling, going out into space and exploring other planets and things of that nature. So it's a really great homage to the golden age of the 1970s prog rock with a bit of a modern ethos, especially in the production and the sound quality here. Incredible musicianship by all three members. Great collaborative effort and has kind of a cinematic quality, epic nature to it. I think there's a lot to enjoy. It started, I believe, from jam sessions that Craven and Bennett had and fully kind of formed into this band project with some great musical chemistry. And I can see why they brought this to light with a big band feel. This is a really great album, maybe one of the better ones on this list. Also one that's creeping up in my mind as one of the better releases of this year. Definitely really cool record and worth checking out if you can go listen to it and find it on your platform of choice. Just really great sound. And if you love Pink Floyd, I mean, I can't I can't tell you enough how much this is like a love letter to Pink Floyd in their classic 70s Dark Side, Wish You Were Here kind of era. And I just love it. I think it's really well done and sounds just wonderful. Also, released on July 25th, this is Agropelter and the album The Book of Hours. This is prog rock from Norway, the creative outlet of Kay Olsen, who's one of the new members coming out in this big, expansive Norwegian prog scene. And this is a fully instrumental record, and it definitely lends inspiration from classic groups like Genesis and Camel, King Crimson, Eloy, all of that stuff you can hear in this mixture. Vintage instruments, definitely steeped in that tradition. But there's also inspiration from classical composers like Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, Bach, and electronic music pioneers, Vangelis. Things like that really bring a lot of flavors to this stew, make it sound pretty original because you're blending a lot of different things from different musical worlds to craft some really cool instrumental progressive rock. And there's some really cool contributions on this, along with all of the classic vintage keyboard type instrumentation from Kay Olsen. Lots of Mellotron, Hammond organ, a mini Moog, bass pedals, all of this stuff. Also, Kay Olsen's playing guitars, bass, church organ, keyboard leads, all, he's kind of a multi-instrumentalist doing all of this stuff, but he also has Jonas Reingold playing some fretless bass here, and you got Matthias Olsen, another notable Norway prog guy, playing percussion here. So fantastic soundscapes, really cool expansive pieces. What I love most of all is the big Book of Hours suite, which takes place over the second half of the record, and there's so many cool moments and things that split up into 4 parts, and it feels very proggy. And there's a lot of 80s synth-inspired sections. There's a lot of cool kind of darker atmospheres, really fun moments with true classical kind of Baroque influence as well. Things can get epic and dramatic at moments, but he's not afraid to kind of rock out at other points. There's moments where there's some cool flute work in the mix. You get kind of that Anglagard kind of Norwegian feel to a lot of this as well, but it never feels like it's derivative of these other projects. It feels like it's its own thing, melding all of these influences to create a unique new sound that I really loved. So definitely check this out. There's a lot to enjoy from this release, and it was really fun to listen to and enjoy over this past month. And finally, I wanted to talk about Discipline's new album, Breadcrumbs, which officially released August 1st. So this is the most recent album on the list, but I've had it for longer than that as I've been listening to it. Discipline are a notable prog band from the newer era. They released, I believe this is their 5th record. Unfolded Like Staircase from 1997 to me is kind of their breakout hit album. One of the kind of modern prog classics, especially of the US prog scene. Maybe still obscure in the wider scope of progressive rock even, but for those who are in the know, it's an incredible record, and since that record, they've released a couple of others, but this is their newest one, Breadcrumbs, and really fantastic record. A lot of cool, kind of more laid back, kind of ominous, kind of darker vibes throughout the record. It starts with a 17-minute epic called, the title track, Breadcrumbs, with some ominous keys and bass lines and guitar work. Matthew Parmenter and his vocals are probably one of the most distinguishable factors of the band. He just has this kind of expressive, artistic way of doing vocals, kind of akin to like classic Peter Hamill and, Peter Gabriel and those kind of artistic figures. Not that his voice really sounds a lot like those, but he'll perform with makeup on, and he'll have a lot of emotional inflections in his vocal performance that kind of turns this into almost a theater production at points. But the music is really laid back in a lot of ways. There's a lot of jazzy sections. Nothing goes super crazy, but it's very well done, very in the pocket and necessary for each of these tracks. You get some kind of Genesis style melodies throughout the track listing. You get this kind of acoustic guitar feel and Keep the Change, kind of more of a ballad, country tinged, almost has like a Stairway to Heaven feel to it and at points for me. When the Night Calls Today is cool jazziness, great groove, very chill song. Aria that finishes the album is probably one of my favorites. I love the upbeat proggy feel of the opening, and then it becomes a great backdrop for Parmenter's kind of mournful vocals, great beautiful melodies, an extended proggy ballad that really takes its time to develop into this really sumptuous 10-minute piece with some great jazz-tinged playout and great piano and soaring guitar lines and some really cool jazzy embellishments in the piano playing. So a really fun record. I'll admit that Discipline aren't like one of my top tier favorite bands, but I appreciate and respect what they do, and I think this is another solid entry into their catalog and one worth checking into if you like this kind of more artsy prog rock scene and a little bit of a theatrical feel, but also more subdued and more just about the storytelling and about what's happening in the lyrics and letting the music speak for those things. So really excellent, well worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of the band already. I think you'll find much to enjoy with this release. So that's basically what I have for you. 6 records that I think are well worth your attention and time. Like I said, check out the description if you want to see the titles and want to go check these out on streaming or Bandcamp or wherever they are able to stream or listen to, or physical media. Obviously, you can purchase these on CDs in some cases. So definitely some really cool releases. Nothing that's like blowing me away, honestly, but a lot of solid things that I think many of you will like as well, as we prepare for some of the upcoming big releases at the end of August and into September. So hoping to get myself back on track to doing more regular content, and just I've been considering doing all of these records as their own spotlights, but just felt like it would be a lot to try to fit that all in, and I think people kind of prefer these kind of formatted episodes where you get a bunch of recommendations in one shot. So I thought that would work best, and hopefully you've enjoyed the format. So thank you guys, and as always, just keep enjoying the music out there. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying a lot of new music. Let me know, like maybe there's been some big major releases this past month that have just passed me by. So if you've heard something you've absolutely adored and loved over the past like month and a half, I'd love to know about it. Maybe I'm missing out on some of the better releases. But thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you guys in a future episode. Bye, everybody.